Hello, today's rant of the day. This is more of a think about it. A couple days ago, I responded to a tweet that Michael Hobbes wrote on his Twitter account. Michael Hobbes is left-wing, calls himself liberal, I believe he calls himself. He has views that I would consider that would be liberal anyways. There is a problem with liberal thinking. There is a lack of responsibility, but this isn't personal responsibility. But this isn't limited to liberals. Conservatives, or some people like to use the term interchangeably, Republicans, lack responsibility too. It's just their lack of responsibility is in the upper echelons of the financial sphere, the social sphere, the economic sphere. Well, conservatives want the same thing Democrats want. They just want it for the higher income. like they want the bailouts. They want the tax cuts. They want the nice roads that are paid for with their taxes. They want the nice schools, but they just want it for them. And they don't want to pay. They think the poor should pay taxes. You know, they're claiming the trickle-down effect, which they know doesn't work. You know, you get more money, you just spend it on something. Or you put it in your bank account. You don't actually go and hire people. And if you do hire people, you hire low-wage people. With incomes that would not be... It would be like pocket change income. That would be like extra spending money income. It wouldn't be like, I can live off of this income. It's like you're hiring somebody for like $7.50 an hour to mow your lawn. And it's not even full-time work. It'd be like, the maintenance crew, comes once every week and I give them $40. That's whatever. So anyways, so I'm not saying this is a liberal thing, but liberal, though I am more aligned with liberals, I consider myself a super mega ultra dynamic liberal. But I believe in personal responsibility in the social sphere. Well, really in everything. When it comes to environment, finance, health, all that. I focus on personal responsibility. I believe and practice what the Republicans or conservatives only preach. Republicans will preach personal responsibility, but as soon as they're in trouble, they're with their hand out to the government saying, bail me out. Help me. But then when they don't need help, or even when they do need help, they'll divert their attention and say, well, look at them awful Democrats. They're wanting to... I've actually heard this. They want to suck off the government's teats, which is extremely vulgar. That's low-class trash uses language like that. But anyways, Republicans do it just the same. They just want it just for them. But anyways, so being this, I gotta get my glasses. I pulled pretty much everything up on the screen that I could. Michael Hobbes has a podcast called Maintenance Phase. He also did another podcast called You're Wrong About. He recently quit that one. too much for him. I have a problem with Michael Hobbes because he doesn't do the personal responsibility thing. I think most of his ideas, from what I've seen, are spot on, or close to spot on. But the one thing it lacks is the personal responsibility. Maintenance phase, and I'm sorry, I liked maintenance phase for a while, but all they focus on is, well, mostly what they focus on is the fat shaming and, fat people's equality and rights, and, the social consequences of being fat. And the co-host with him, I don't remember her name. I just started listening to the podcast, so it takes me a long time to remember people's names. But she's fat, and it grinds, and so she's got an axe to grind, as we all do. We all rightfully do. When I use certain phrases, doesn't necessarily mean I'm degrading I'm just, sometimes I use the wrong phrase. It makes it sound like I'm criticizing people. I have an axe. Everybody has multiple axes to grind, and rightfully so. Some not rightfully so, though. Anyway, she's fat, and so and yes, of course, we all, if we wear glasses, if we, if we have red hair, sometimes if we have freckles, if, people of color, we all have disabled people, we all have, axes to grind. But it's mostly focusing on fat phobia, fat stereotyping, whatever. And it's starting to get a little bit on my nerves. I'm really not into maintenance phase as much as I used to be. It's hard to listen to a lot of this stuff because it's just fat. Okay, next subject, But one of the problems is that there's no personal responsibility. This is a voodoo doll I made for sale. There's no personal responsibility in these episodes. And we have to think about, if somebody comes into an interview and they're drunk, you're not going to say, well, I'm going to hire this person. They have the disease of drinking, and I'm going to hire them because I feel bad. I shouldn't hold it against them because they drink. Right? If someone comes in and they're morbidly obese, how well are they going to be, if it's a physical job, how well are they going to be able to do that? There's going to be shortness of breath. There'd be risk of heart attack. Even if they were fat, can they easily get up and down a ladder? You know what I'm saying? So, there has to be some negation of decision making when it comes to fat people. My partner worked at a place, and at that job he was installing alarm systems. One of the men was so obese a ladder couldn't hold him, so he couldn't go up and down the ladders. Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, there was one that was really fat, and he couldn't fit into a lot of spaces. Like, there were a lot of spaces that were small where they had to work on stuff. And this man was so obese, he couldn't fit in these small places to work on these wiring and alarms and all that stuff. So he couldn't be sent out to these jobs. And sometimes he was sent out to the job and he would just say, I can't fit in this space, or I can't get up this ladder. There was another person who had vertigo and couldn't, different workplace, had same type of work. He had vertigo, He couldn't go up on ladders because of his vertigo. Why did they hire him? Why did they hire the obese person? Why did they hire the person with vertigo? You know, these people cannot do their job with reasonable assistance. They can't do their job. They can't do that part of the job at all. There's no assistance that can be given where they could complete the job. And so, anyways, what I'm saying is like personal. So, anyway, so I do take issue with the lack of personal responsibility that everybody's giving right now. Like they're saying, this is, okay, a lot of people say, oh, capitalism is the best society, blah, blah, blah. I never thought that. I never thought capitalism was a good idea. Never did. When I was taught about it in second grade, I was told, oh, we're a capitalist. It's so great being, you know, the propaganda, you know, when you're young. And it might have just been might have just been force-fed this propaganda because I was in a Christian school, and that might have just been their way. And if I had been in second grade and, you know, first, second, third grade in a public school, I might not have gotten this propaganda. It might have just been stated as fact. There might not have been this, there might not have been as many adjectives. But I was told how great, capitalism was explained to me, and I thought, that does not sound great. That sounds like it's punishing poor people. It sounds like it's putting poor people at a disadvantage. It sounds like if anybody falls on hard times, they're at a disadvantage. Our country doesn't care about them. So I never thought it was a good idea, and I think it's terrible. Now that I'm an adult and I see the repercussions of it, you know, the true-to-life repercussions, I definitely don't agree. I think capitalism is the worst society, right? And capitalism only looks out for the rich. We see how this plays out. Like, supposedly capitalism, you sink or fail. You sink or swim. You rise or fall in capitalism based on just the market. Just, you know, some of the stuff is what you do. Some of the stuff is just sheer coincidence. You know, if there's a depression, you know, it would not be a good time to open a business, but like you open a business in a better time, if you're selling the right thing, you make the right moves, and the market keeps moving up, then you'll make it. But that's not how it works. You know, these big companies, they get so big, then they go to, when hard times fall on them, they go to the government and with their hand out for welfare money, you know, their bailout. And most of the people, the higher ups, don't lose their job, or they might lose a little bit of income, but they still keep their positions, or, you know, get moved over horizontally in a different position as opposed to the position they have, just so it makes the company look like they're taking responsibility for the CEO's poor actions, when really they're just moving them adjacent, paying them the same or about the same, just to keep the public off their back and the government. So it's not, the capitalism is for the rich, and it coddles the rich and it pampers the rich, while the poor are just left destitute. You know, you're on your own. So capitalism is not a good thing in my book. Now, I don't know why I went off on that tangent. So here's what I'm talking about. Okay. October 23rd. It is now October 25th. Michael Hobbes writes, no, you actually do not need to put 2-year-olds on diets. And he has a link to article written by, or posted by maybe, Cindy E. Hudson. The article states, being overweight and obese, black children ages 2 to 5 years. It says obesity in children is a significant public health concern. Michael Hobbes downplays this in his maintenance phase. This is a serious health concern. So many people are obese now, and so many children, like over half children, are overweight. Now, The prevalence of obesity in black preschoolers is slightly higher than whites. By age 6, black children experience higher obesity prevalence. Consequences to health throughout childhood and into adulthood have both medical and economic costs to individuals and society. Factors associated with obesity in preschool children are lifestyle behaviors such as diet, level of activity, culture, environment, and parental perceptions. And here, Michael Hobbes highlighted what was written. This next sentence is what he highlighted, what he was talking about. Highlighted. Programs should target young black children and their families to reduce the incidence of obesity. That is the part that he highlighted. Now, this says programs, not diet. This does not say diet. This does not say diets. Diet should target young black children. It says programs. There's a vast difference, and I don't know if he just skimmed this article. Michael Hobbes he calls himself, I don't think he calls himself a journalist. There's another word where it's like investigative reporter or something. And I guess there's a difference. Like journalists don't have to ask the hard-hitting questions. And I think there's a place for journalism. I think there's a place for journalism and a place for, investigative news person, reporter. But if he wants to consider himself an investigative reporter, he should not use it. He needs to up his game, because this is not what this article is saying. Okay, that's the first thing. It says programs should target young black children, not diets. Two totally different things, Michael Hobbes. Okay.